So your work comp deposition is coming up and you want to know, what is this going to really be like? What should I expect? Well, stay tuned. We are about to bring you into a mock deposition to illustrate what it will really be like. Hi, I'm Naomi from Gonzalez Law, legal insights from California attorneys. Welcome to part 7 of our deposition series, Acing Your Work Comp Deposition. Today we're going to be showing you our mock deposition. And this is specifically for California workers' compensation. Depositions can take place in person or remote. So we're going to show you a hybrid of them both an online deposition and also one in person. Let me introduce you to the rest of the firm. First, my husband, Will Gonzalez.
Hi, I'm Will Gonzalez. I'm an attorney here at Gonzalez Law. You may see me during intake, during your deposition, or at a hearing, or even settlement. Today I'll be playing the part of the defense attorney.
Next is Jennifer.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Rivas. I'm one of the paralegals here at Gonzalez Law, and I handle cases with the last names M through Z, and for the mock deposition, I'll be playing the part of the applicant.
And next, it's Cynthia.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Garcia. I'm a paralegal here at Gonzalez Law Firm. I handle the cases A through L, as well as the Spanish-speaking clients, and for this mock deposition, I will be playing the part of the court reporter.
Thank you, Cynthia. Our mission is to empower clients everywhere through education on the legal process. Please help us in our mission by liking this video so more people can ace their deposition. Let's get started.
Welcome to our mock deposition. We hope you enjoy it.
Again, it looks like we're all here. Are we ready to get started?
Can you say something, Jennifer? Let me hear you.
Is that okay? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Madam Court Reporter, Can you hear our applicant?
Yes, I can hear her.
Okay, we can get started, Madam Court Reporter.
Good morning. My name is Cynthia Garcia, a California certified shorthand reporter, number 12345. This deposition is being held via remote video conference. The witness and the reporter are not physically in the same room. The witness will be sworn under oath remotely. Can I please have an agreement by both counsels, starting with applicant counsel?
Naomi Gonzalez, for applicant. No objection to the proceedings being remote.
Williolfo Gonzalez for A1 Ambulance Company. No objections to this deposition proceeding via Zoom.
Ma'am, please raise your right hand.
Deposition Volume 1, Jennifer Doe versus A1 Ambulance Company. Ma'am, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Good morning. My name is Will Gonzalez, and I'm a workers' compensation defense attorney. I've been retained by A1 Ambulance Company to represent their interests with regard to your workers' compensation claim. Now, ma'am, could you please state your full name for the record?
Jen Doe.
Okay. And can you please spell your last name?
D-O-E.
Now, Miss Doe, do you happen to have a middle name?
No.
Have you ever gone by or been known by any other name?
No.
Now, have you ever had your deposition taken before?
No, I have not.
And did you have time to prepare with your attorney today?
Yes, I did.
And approximately how long did you spend preparing with your attorney?
About 1 hour.
Okay. Does that sound correct, counsel?
That is correct.
Now, although your attorney may have covered some of these, I'd like to briefly go over some ground rules with you. So first of all, the person seated to my left, your right, is a certified court reporter. The oath that she gave you is the same oath that you take in a court of law. The oath carries with it the penalty of perjury. So if you were to purposely lie under oath, or if you were to lie here today, you'd be guilty of perjury, which is a felony punishable with jail time. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so it's very important that you be honest with us here today and tell us everything with accuracy. In addition, everything you say today will be put into a booklet. You'll have the opportunity to review everything in that booklet and make any changes or corrections you believe are necessary. However, I will caution you, should you make material changes, I or any attorney at my firm can point out those changes, and it may harm your credibility with regard to this workers' compensation claim. So it's important that I get your most truthful and most accurate testimony here this afternoon. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Now, if you don't understand for a question for whatever reason, please tell me that you don't understand, and I'd be happy to re-ask the question, rephrase, or give you examples until you do understand. However, if I ask you a question and you provide an answer, I presume that you understood my question and that you answered it truthfully. Now, understand, I'm not going to try to trick you today. I'm just trying to find out the facts in your case. I am entitled to your best recollection, but I don't want you to guess. Do you know the difference between a guess and an estimate, or would you like me to provide an example?
Please provide an example.
Okay. If I were to ask you, Miss Doe, what color of shirt am I wearing today? You can give me an estimate. It's a dark color, maybe it's a black, maybe it's a navy blue, a dark navy blue, and that's perfectly fine. However, if I ask you, Miss Doe, what color are the shoes I'm wearing? Because you can only see me from the shoulders up, if you were to give me a response regarding my shoes, that'd be a guess. That's what we want to stay away from. If I ask you a yes or no question, please answer yes or no, and refrain from using phrases like uh-huh or nodding your head, shaking your head, because our court reporter can only type words. She has to transcribe everything we're saying today. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Great. Additionally, please use your words to describe actions or body parts rather than pointing or gesturing, because once the deposition testimony has been transcribed in 2 or 3 weeks, we'll have no idea what you're talking about if you simply motion or make reference to certain motions that you can't do or whatever the case may be. Also, and you've been doing a fantastic job, please allow me to completely finish asking my question before you provide a response. The court reporter can only type one person at a time, and so we don't want to overlap with each other. We don't want to cut each other off. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. Now, finally, in your opinion, is there any reason that you believe you cannot give your best testimony this afternoon?
No.
Now, in the last 24 hours, have you taken any medications, drugs, or alcohol?
No.
How about in the last 2 weeks? Have you taken any prescription medications?
No.
Now, do you happen to have an ID with you, like a driver's license or a passport?
Yes.
Okay, would you mind pulling that out, please, and handing it to your attorney? Thank you, counsel. I'd like the record to reflect that the individual pictured on this driver's license appears to be the person sitting across the table from me this afternoon. I'd like the record to reflect that I am handing the driver's license back to Ms. Doe. Now, Ms. Doe, your current residence, is that the residence that's listed on your driver's license?
Yes.
Approximately how long have you lived at that address?
About 10 years.
At that residence, who do you live with?
It's myself, my husband, and my children.
And how many children?
3 children.
What are their ages?
11, 3, and 2.
And the 11-year-old, is that a boy or a girl?
Girl.
The 3-year-old?
Girl.
And the 2-year-old?
Boy.
Do you own or do you rent your home?
We rent.
And approximately what's the monthly rent?
About $2,000.
Can we go off the record to get your social security number very briefly?
Yes.
No objection.
Off the record, we had a brief break and the applicant was able to provide me with her social security number, and the social security number provided is the same one that defendants have on file at the present time. Do you have any sources of income?
Yes.
And what is that source?
The payments from the workers' compensation.
Are those temporary disability benefits?
Yes.
And approximately how much are you receiving?
$1,100.
And is that on a weekly basis, a bi-weekly basis, if you know?
A bi-weekly basis.
Have you ever served in the military?
No.
Ms. Doe, what is your highest level of education?
I have a vocational certificate
And in what field of study?
for EMT.
What's the name of the entity or the school that you went to?
I went to ABC College.
And when was that certification conferred?
That was in 2019.
Now, I'd like to move on to work injuries. Now, obviously, we have the injury that we're here for. My question to you is, have you ever suffered any other work-related injuries that you can recall?
Yes.
Now, has it just been one or has it been several?
Just one.
And do you recall the employer you worked for at the time?
Disney.
And this would be a Disneyland theme park or one of the Disney hotels?
One of the hotels.
Do you know the name of the hotel?
The Pacific Pier Hotel.
And do you recall approximately when you suffered this injury?
That injury was in December 2018.
What was your job title at that time?
I was an attendant in the lounge at the hotel.
And can you briefly describe for me what happened, how you suffered that injury?
I was setting up some food and I made a quick sidestep and ran my right knee into a cabinet pole.
Do you recall if you filed a workers' compensation claim as a result of that injury?
I did not.
Okay. Did you report that injury to anyone?
Yes, I did.
Were you offered medical attention?
Yes.
Did you accept the medical attention?
Yes.
Do you recall where you received treatment?
I was treated on site by the Disney doctor.
Do you remember what that doctor told you?
He just said that I had badly bruised my knee.
Now, did you miss any time from work as a result of that injury?
Yes.
Approximately how much time off of work did you miss?
2 days.
After that 2 days, in your opinion, did you have any lingering effects?
I was put on transitional duty for 2 weeks.
And after that 2 weeks, do you feel your knee pretty much got back to normal, or did you have any residual effects?
Yes, I fully recovered.
Now, other than that incident in December 2018 and the work comp injury we're here for today, do you recall suffering any other work-related injury?
No.
Ms. Doe, I'd like to move on to employment. Do you recall when you were hired by A1 Ambulance Company?
Yes.
And when were you hired?
December 5th, 2020.
And at A1 Ambulance, what was your job title?
EMT Basic.
And briefly, could you describe for me what your job duties are at A1 Ambulance as an EMT Basic?
We transport patients. I treat patients. I drive the ambulance. I write reports.
Could you slow down, please? I just need to be able to type this down, and I'm sure it'll help our court reporter out as well.
Yes, I communicate with hospital staff.
And now you mentioned a partner that you had named Joe. Do you know Joe's last name?
Yes.
And what is that last name?
Keen?
Now, do you usually only work with one partner?
Just one.
Since you were hired by A1 Ambulance Company, has Joe been the only partner you've had?
Yes.
What's your usual schedule while working at A1 Ambulance Company?
I usually work Saturday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
How do you get your assignments?
Dispatch will usually tell us to go post somewhere, which means we'll just go sit in the ambulance and wait for a call. And we have a computer inside of the ambulance, and the calls will come in, and then we'll go respond.
How much did you earn at A1 Ambulance?
$17 an hour.
And as far as you know, are you still employed by A1 Ambulance Company?
Yes.
Do you recall where you were employed immediately before A1 Ambulance Company?
Yes.
And where were you employed?
At Disney.
And it was at that same hotel that you mentioned earlier?
Yes.
Do you recall your date of hire?
November 2016.
Earlier, you testified that you were an attendant at the lounge at the Pacific Pier Hotel, correct?
Yes.
Did your job title change at all between the time you were employed and the time you decided to leave Disney?
No.
What was your normal schedule at Disney?
It changed. It was variable.
Why did you decide to leave Disney?
It was a seasonal position.
So we're here because you had alleged an injury of June 13th, 2021, working for A1 Ambulance Company. From my notes, it appears that it's an accepted claim, and you have been receiving TTD benefits per your testimony. Can you describe for me what happened on June 13th, 2021?
Yes.
And could you please go ahead and describe for me what happened?
My partner and I got a call of a motor vehicle accident. We responded to the scene. The patient needed transport. We moved him onto the gurney. As I was lifting the gurney, there's a lever that you pull. I pulled the lever and I lifted the gurney. And while lifting the gurney, I felt pain in my right forearm and my right wrist.
When did you suffer that injury?
It was when the patient was when you put the patient on the gurney, it's on the ground, it's low, and then afterward you have to lift it with the patient to put it inside of the ambulance.
So the patient was already on the gurney when you lifted him up?
Yes.
Could you describe briefly that individual?
It was a male.
Would you be able to approximate how much he weighed?
I can tell you exactly because it was on the report.
Okay.
He weighed 324 pounds.
When you lifted this individual up, 324 pounds, were you doing that on your own, or did you have the assistance of your partner?
My partner was at the head of the gurney assistant.
He was at the head, you were at the feet, and you lifted him up together.
Yes.
How did you know you sustained an injury?
I felt a pulling and pain in my right forearm and pain in my right wrist.
Now, at the time that you felt that pulling, that pain in the right forearm and right wrist, do you recall feeling pain anywhere else?
No.
Now, did you mention to your partner that you felt this pulling sensation, this pain?
Yes.
And what did he respond to you?
Well, at the time we had to finish the call, so he said, wait until after, we'll get it checked out.
You're able to load this individual into the ambulance.
Yes.
Do you recall where you transported this person to?
Yes.
And where was that?
LAUSC?
And were you able to finish your shift that day?
No.
After you dropped the gentleman off at USC, what happens next?
We called dispatch and spoke with my supervisor, and he asked us to come back to the station so that I could go to the clinic and be treated.
Did you complete any paperwork while you were at A1 Ambulance before going to the clinic?
No.
Do you know the name of that clinic?
Concentra?
Now, approximately how long did you spend at Concentra that day?
A couple of hours.
Do you know if you had any x-rays done, any kind of diagnostics?
Yes.
What kind of diagnostics did you have, if you know?
They took x-rays and they did a grip strength.
And did anyone from Concentra discuss the results of your grip strength or those x-rays with you?
Yes.
What did they tell you about your injury?
They said that it was a soft tissue injury.
The folks at Concentra, did they provide you with any work restrictions?
Yes.
And what were those work restrictions?
Lifting no more than 15 pounds.
Okay. And did you provide those work restrictions to your employer?
Yes.
Did they tell you that they could offer you modified work?
No.
And so as far as you know, that's the basis for you being off of work because your restrictions wouldn't be accommodated?
Yes.
Did you ever return to Concentra?
Yes.
And approximately how many times have you been back to Concentra?
I don't remember.
Have any of the doctors talked to you about whether you might have any kind of tear or whether you may be a surgical candidate?
Yes.
When was that discussion held?
This was my last appointment
When was your last appointment?
2 weeks ago.
Okay, and during that appointment, what did the doctors tell you exactly?
They said that they were going to request the injections and we would try that. And if that didn't work, then we would discuss surgery.
In your opinion, what parts of body did you suffer injury to on June 3rd?
My right forearm and my right wrist.
Any other parts of body?
No.
If you could describe for me the pain in your right forearm,
Yes.
please do.
It's a pulling hot sensation.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being virtually no pain, 10 being the worst pain imaginable, what has been your pain level on average in the last week?
It's usually about a 6 or 7.
You mentioned your right wrist as well. Could you describe for me the pain that you're feeling in that right wrist?
The right wrist pain is more of an achy feeling.
Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, in the last week, how would you rate the pain in your right wrist?
About a 4.
And is that pain constant or does that come and go?
It also comes and goes, yes.
Okay.
I next want to move on to any prior injuries you may have sustained. Have you ever been involved in a motor vehicle accident?
Yes, as a driver.
And was it just one or has it been several?
Just one.
Okay, do you recall approximately when that occurred?
That was in July of 2003.
And as a driver, could you describe for me briefly what happened?
Yes, I had stopped at a four-way stop sign, looked, didn't see any cars, proceeded through the intersection, and was hit in the passenger side of my vehicle.
Did you suffer or sustain any personal, physical, bodily injury as a result of that accident?
Yes, I did.
In your opinion, what parts of body did you sustain injury to?
My jaw was fractured.
If you recall, how did that happen?
Yes, my face hit the steering wheel.
Do you recall if your car was drivable from the scene of the accident?
It was not.
At the scene of the accident, were you transported by ambulance anywhere?
Yes.
Do you recall in what city the accident occurred?
Ontario.
And do you recall what hospital that you were taken to by ambulance?
Chino Valley Medical Center.
And at the ER, the day of the accident, did they diagnose you with that fractured jaw?
No.
How did you ultimately discover or find out that you had that fracture in your jaw?
I went to a specialist afterwards, and they did a CT scan.
Do you remember the name of that doctor?
No, I don't.
Do you recall what city that doctor was located in?
Upland,
Do you recall the cross streets by chance?
Foothill, and Euclid.
And do you remember that doctor's specialty?
He's an orthodontist, jaw specialist.
Besides your jaw, any other parts of body that were injured during that July 2003 motor vehicle accident?
I had a cut on my left knee.
Did you file a lawsuit against the other driver?
No.
That is the only motor vehicle accident that you've been involved in?
Yes.
The next thing I'd like to talk about are activities of daily living. So, Ms. Doe, can you walk me through your typical daily routine?
Yes. So I'll get up and my children will get up and I'll make them breakfast. I'll take my oldest to school, spend time with my younger children, and then pick my oldest up from school. And around that time, my husband will be getting home. Then we have dinner and maybe watch TV and go to bed.
So, Ms. Doe, I'd like you to take a look at this picture. Can you describe for me what's happening in this picture?
That appears to be me holding my 2-year-old son and putting him into his car seat.
Okay, with that being said, I'd like to introduce this photo as Defendant's Exhibit 1. Ms. Doe, sticking with this picture, it appears that you're holding your son and he's resting, at least partially, on your right forearm. Would you agree?
Yes.
And this is the son that you testified that weighs approximately 35 pounds.
Yes.
Did you not testify that you could not lift anything with your right forearm weighing over 15 pounds?
Yes.
I have no further questions.
Ms. Gonzalez, do you happen to have any questions?
I do. Going back to the photograph that we were just looking at, in that photograph, it looks like your other hand is supporting him somewhat. Is some of the weight supported by your other hand?
Yes, absolutely. I try to use my left as much as possible.
Also, it looks like your son holding on to you. Does that help lighten his weight?
Yes.
Also, I see there appears to be some sort of cast on his leg. Is that accurate?
Yes. His leg is currently broken.
Would he be able to get into his car seat if you hadn't helped him?
No.
That's all I have.
Okay, then. Well, thank you. At the present time, I don't believe I have any further questions. I will, however, reserve my right to a Volume 2 deposition in the event additional issues arise. Therefore, I propose that we stipulate that the court reporter be removed from her duties pursuant to code, CCP 2025.250, that the original transcript be forwarded to applicant's attorney's office and that they notify defendants within 45 days of any changes or corrections that have been made to the transcript and whether the transcript has been signed under penalty of perjury. In the event the original transcript is lost, misplaced, destroyed, or otherwise unavailable, that a certified copy can be used for any and all purposes.
So stipulated.
All right, thank you so much, everybody.
Ms. Doe, you testified earlier that the doctors from Concentra provided you work restrictions precluding you from lifting over 15 pounds. Have you been able to follow those work restrictions?
As best that I can.
And when you say as best as I can, what do you mean by that?
My 2-year-old son is currently in a cast, and he requires my assistance to lift him in and out of his car seat.
So in and out of the car seat, are there any other instances that require use of that right arm, that right forearm, that are over 15 pounds that you could think of?
No.
So that's the end of part 7 of our deposition series, Acing Your Work Comp Deposition. I hope this mock deposition was very beneficial for you, that you have a better idea now of what to expect going into your day of your deposition. If you have any questions or you would like us to appear with you for your deposition, go ahead and text this consult and we'll be very happy to discuss this with you and to discuss your case with you. Thank you. Bye.
I love the 18s.
It's Giant Santa.
Oh my god.
Don't look behind you.
It's coming to get you.
I am not a cat.
Okay. We're going to Disneyland.
That's right. You just did the pose.
Let's talk about roller coasters. Which you should not do on. Oh, you haven't.
Yeah.
Okay.